a cruise ship. I work on 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 a cruise ship.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
In the past 8 months, I've worked on a cruise ship, got injured on that cruise ship, got sent off that cruise ship, but then went back on a cruise ship again. Safe to say a lot has happened this year, so I figured it's about time
For a little update. But first, I think we need to cover some basic questions. What's your name? So I've gone by Allie my whole life, but my real name is actually Alexandra. How old are you? 27. Where are you from?
Oak Park, California.
How tall are you? 5'4" 3/4". What's your ethnicity? My grandma was originally from Ecuador, so I'm half Ecuadorian, plus a little bit of Hungarian, Irish, Scottish, and a couple other European countries. Do you have a degree?
Sure do.
What did you do before working on a cruise ship? Honestly, I did so many things. In high school, I was a server. I was a parade performer at Disneyland. I was on book covers. I was a dance teacher. I was a performer at Tokyo Disneyland. I was in some TV shows and commercials, print modeling. I was a lake girl and a fitness instructor, among other things. So why did you start working on cruise ships? I initially started off my career at 19 when I moved to Japan, and it was a mix of my two passions, traveling and performing. When I moved back to California and I was pursuing all these other things, although I did have so many incredible opportunities, I really had to sacrifice being able to travel at all. When you're a professional entertainer, that's just not really in the cards, or it's really difficult. So then when cruise lines started auditioning after COVID, I just kind of took that as a sign. It was one of the last things on my dance bucket list, and it would be able to join those two passions once again. So that's what I've been doing for the majority of 2022 and 2023 until this happened.
So a couple days ago, I hurt my back in the show. Not really sure exactly what it is.
It is really interesting watching this video back now, because at this point I was so scared. There were so many unknowns. I had no idea what was going on, seriously. And even at the point when I thought I was kind of starting to understand, I didn't realize at the time that there were still so many missing pieces. So probably one of the most frequently asked questions, how is your back doing? If I'm being completely honest, it is doing so much better. It has been incredible. When I first got injured, it pretty much hurt and was uncomfortable to do everything. It hurt to walk, it hurt to stand, it hurt to sit, it especially hurt to sit. I learned that when you get an injury like this, it's actually not good to be sedentary and to keep some blood flowing in the area. But that's what I did basically for 2 weeks until I left the ship. At that time too, it was really challenging for me. When you're a professional dancer or just any professional athlete, being in a situation where you can't move is really hard. I feel like part of your identity just feels like it's stripped away from you during that time, and just trying to find different ways to fill the void. But here we are 8 months later. So this is today's workout fit. Yay! This top is from Lululemon. I got it on clearance. These shorts are from Uniqlo Japan, I think, and I got them like 4 years ago. My shoes are Hoka's and my socks are Bombas. So something I really like about Bombas is that anytime you purchase a pair, one pair is automatically donated as well. And honestly, they are designed so nicely. They have this compression around the arch to give extra support. I just find them super comfortable. And then also on their ankle socks, they have like little tabs in the back so you don't get blisters. Personally, I would say that they're the most functional sock that I've ever worn, but they do have a couple more things other than just socks too. I haven't tried them personally for myself yet, but they also have shirts and underwear. So between those two items plus the sock, that actually makes up the top 3 most requested items in homeless shelters. All of their items have been tested for comfort and durability. And something I really appreciate is that part of their mission statement is that they are always trying to improve. And personally, I feel like I can relate to this too, because I'm just always trying to be the best version of myself. I just think it's really neat to see how a simple yet practical purchase can make a real impact, and with my code you can also get 20% off. So if you would like to support me in this channel, try a pair for yourselves and make a difference, make sure to use my code WanderlustAllie at checkout. Thank you Bombas for sponsoring this video. But I think it is important to clarify that even though I can do so many things again, there is still a lot I can't do. So I would say since around mid-April, I've been like fully back in a workout routine, but it's just been a process finding the things that work for me in this particular state. I would say within the last month or so, I've started incorporating some weights again, but up until then, it's been like a lot of Pilates, calisthenics, swimming, walking, like things that are low impact. I think at this point, it's just really important that I'm still very conscious of what my body needs and what it can and can't handle at the moment. It's just a very interesting recovery process, because there's some days where I feel incredible and I'm like, I can just go back to doing anything I was doing before. And then some days where it just feels a little bit more on edge. Actually, like within this past week, I would say this is like one of the first times I've been feeling a little bit more on edge, and that could be because I have started started like integrating more workouts that I used to do. So maybe that is like a little sign to pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely a humbling experience, but it is nice that I feel good enough in like most days. Like I would say from February until last week, I have been feeling great. During that time, I had been very particular about not pushing my limits, but still like the fact that I didn't even think about discomfort or pain during that time, incredible. So just to clarify a few things, when I was back on land, I was still working for the company. I was still getting paid 80% of my pay. The only difference is I was no longer taking up lodging on board, and I'm getting treated by actual like professionals that I can see on a regular basis. And honestly, it was really thorough. It was really speedy. They got me an appointment immediately with a spinal surgeon, and he was so helpful. Basically, he had gone through all my test results and put me on a treatment plan. So in a nutshell, this treatment plan was basically just 6 weeks of PT and basically just taking care of myself. During this time, I felt like it was just a really good opportunity to reconnect with my body and just slow down a bit. I think during that last bit while I was on the ship, there was just so much going on. I was heavily stressed. And honestly, I just did not have any time for myself or my mental space. So being home and actually being able to recover in like a good environment was a really positive experience. And then shortly after coming back from Japan was when I had my appointment to see my doctor again. So this particular appointment is kind of the appointment that changed everything for me. I was able to understand what was actually wrong with me, but honestly, it ended up being a bit more complicated than I thought. So I'm gonna break it into a couple different parts. So in my previous injury videos, I think I had confirmed that I had a bulged disc, but basically when I ended up going to see the doctor, he confirmed that I had 2 herniated discs. So basically, if you don't know what a herniated disc is, I'm gonna give a brief science lesson.
So in between each individual spinal vertebrae, like the bony part of our back, is these little cushy discs, and they're all filled with fluid. So the reason why I got this donut is because these donuts actually look a lot like a healthy disc. They are plump, they are full of fluid and all good and dandy. So basically when your back undergoes an injury and there's a lot of stress in the donut, a tear will form, such as the one here. So a tear itself isn't necessarily the end of the world. In fact, a lot of people actually have tears in their discs and it doesn't impact them at all. But if you are undergoing a lot of stress in your back, eventually your discs are just gonna start smushing. The goal of this demonstration is that the cream is gonna come out, but let's see if that happens. Yep, there it comes. Oh. So I think this smushed donut is actually also a good demonstration of another condition I have, which is called degenerative disc disease. And it's basically when your nice, fluffy, cushy donut-like discs get smushed. And that is not ideal. They're supposed to be full of fluid to help support your spine, but when they're all smushed, they can't really do that. So the good news is that this fluid can actually reabsorb into the disc, so it's not always going to be touching your nerve forever. So let's just imagine it has all gone back inside. Goodbye. So great, there's nothing coming out of it and touching the nerve now, but we still have a tear. You'd think like this tear would be like any other injury in your body that like heals over time, but the thing about this area is that there is such low blood flow that it doesn't heal like a normal injury. So I've read that it takes about 2 whole years to even just like close the tear, but even then it's not like actually healed, it's just filled with scar tissue. So as you can imagine, during this healing process, it is not a very secure place to be. So if you were to do something that's really high impact or something that were to irritate that tear again, it can just re-tear open and then the whole process would start again. So in general, you do have to be more careful. And even when the tear is fully healed, because it is just filled with scar tissue, it's also very likely to re-tear again. So the joys. As someone who has never had back problems before, that concept took me a really long time to understand. So I hope that kind of helps.
So originally when I first got diagnosed, I thought that this was the main problem. I thought this was the main source of my issues, but I was wrong. So I also have this thing called stenosis, and this is the part that kind of took a really long time for me to understand. In simple terms, stenosis is the narrowing of the nerve canal. So basically I have arthritis in my back, and because of all of this pressure that's been created, it has created these bone spurs. Long story short, nerve canal is doing this. But with that being said, a lot of you have asked, can I dance again? The main thing is stenosis. So stenosis is a chronic condition. Stenosis does not go away. ever. Long story short, it never gets better. There are only times where it's not as inflamed and you're doing some things to support the area better. But surprise, surprise, the things that aggravate stenosis are high impact activity. With that being said, when I went to my doctor on that last appointment, I asked him like, am I able to dance again? What would you recommend? What do you think is like the best course of action for me? And he was really honest and he just said, it's what you decide you want to tolerate in your life. And honestly, that was just a really tough thing to try and think about because I love dance. Like I've been dancing since I was 2 years old. I've been a professional dancer for almost 10 years now, and it's so much of me and who I am and what I love. There was a lot of choice in this, but at the same time, I didn't really feel like I had a choice. I know the standard of health that is required of me with my job, and that is really strenuous. And with these conditions, it's only getting worse. It's not going to get better. And I'm in my 20s, like, so with the question, are you planning to dance again or are you done? I'm going to be able to dance in some capacities, but like I don't think I'm going to be professionally dancing again. If I'm making choices for the short term, I think it would be something that I would love to do, but if that's only going to lead me into a spinal surgery in a couple of years, like I think that's just not a smart decision. And making these choices has been really tough because I know like what that means for me. Like my whole life, it basically is changing because of that. Like it's something that has always had a really present space in me, and my identity and who I am is now like gone. It's been a difficult journey to get to this point. I do feel like I'm a person who prepares for these things. Even when I first got hurt, I went out mid-show, was lying on the floor backstage and was already thinking in my head that this was probably like the last time that I'll perform on a stage professionally again. And I was trying to come to terms with it already. I got the question, how long does it take you to produce a video? Honestly, it depends a little bit on the video. Some of my videos take a lot more pre-planning than other ones, so sometimes I'll be filming throughout the course of a couple weeks or a month, but again, it really just depends. Next is, what equipment do I use? I have quite the variety of equipment, but my main camera is a Sony a7S III. Right now I have a Wireless Go Rode mic, and then I also have this directional mic. I'm just not using it right now because there's some water. I'll put a link for all my gear below, but honestly, I'm always looking to kind of consolidate things and just have less. I like to make videos because I'm hoping to inspire people and like connect with people and create, and I just enjoy it. I love being able to look back on my adventures. I've never regretted making a vlog because then I can look back in 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years and be like, wow, look at that really awesome thing that I did. You can't go into it with the motivation being, I want to make money. If the motivation is, I want to make videos, and if money comes, that's a plus. I think that is what incentivized me to keep creating, because I wasn't making money for years. I only got monetized last year and I made my account 7 years ago. What editing software do I use? I use Premiere Pro. A lot of you asked if Tristan worked on the ship as well, but he was actually a guest. So if you see my past cruise ship videos, maybe you remember my friend Graydon. He was in a lot of my videos and he was my main bestie on the ship. Well, Tristan is actually Graydon's brother. Graydon and his fiance had to kind of come up with this plan for us to get connected, and it worked.
Another thing, what is the future of this channel? If I'm not on a cruise ship, what am I gonna be doing? Well, I do want to preface by saying I did not start this journey to be a cruise ship YouTuber. I started my YouTube channel 7 years ago, and while I was working on cruise ships was just the first time that I had really buckled down and said like, I'm gonna prioritize this. And I'm really happy I did, because here we are. I still would love to go on cruise ships. I wouldn't say I'm going to become like a cruise ship review channel solely. Like, I think cruises are gonna end up being an element of my content just because I enjoy cruises, but I think that will just be one of a variety of types of destinations that I would like to explore. I think with all of the adventures that are going to be coming up, there's going to be so many things going on. I know I have a cruise plan that I'm really excited for. I have my Ireland group trip that's coming up. I'm in the midst of planning some more group trips, one of them potentially being a group cruise. And then another thing, I am
currently in the process of hopefully trying to get a house. It is funny, sometimes people on the internet will try to shame me for not owning a house or like living on my own, and I don't think people understand, like during my entire 20s from 19 to 27, I have not been home longer than a couple months. So really there's never been a point ever. There was a short period of time when I was thinking about moving out to LA just because I was commuting from my town, which was a little bit outside of LA, but like financially, all of my dancer friends who are from out of town would all say like if I had family here, I would be living with them in a heartbeat. I'm really thankful I didn't move out. I think that would have been silly, like especially after spending like a year and a half away from my family at a time. Coming back home to see my family is the point. Like, I want to see my family when I'm home. I have always wanted to own a house, so we are still very much in the early days of that process. So I will keep you guys updated and see how that goes. I think that's kind of everything. So if you have any more pressing questions, leave them in the comments below. I would love to answer them. And I just want to say again, I really, really appreciate this community. I appreciate you guys, and I love that there's a bunch of people who enjoy traveling and just loving life. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.